Perseverance is a necessary discipline. If you don't learn to persevere, you're going to throw in the towel. Anybody ever felt like giving up? The reality is, if we look back over the course of our lives, there's a strong possibility that somewhere along the way we gave up. We didn't persevere. And let me tell you about Christ. He's not above giving you the lesson twice. Some of us have actually been through the school of hard knocks where we take the test before the lessons.
Yep.
But he's not above giving us the lesson twice. And so we've got to learn to persevere. It's a beautiful butterfly there, isn't it? Are you familiar with that process of how he becomes that beautiful? Starts off as a worm, then he gets in a tree and spins a cocoon. And before he becomes that beautiful butterfly that you see, there's something that takes place. As the butterfly struggles to make his exit from the cocoon, the struggle is what gives him the strength he needs for his journey. All too often in life, we despise the struggle. Have you ever been caught in the midst of a struggle and your prayer all the time is, God, please deliver me from this? Sometimes God says no. Because there's a lesson you've got to learn. You've got to persevere. Sometimes you can't get to the next because you won't endure or persevere through the current. The current is what you need to develop what you're going to need for your future. I used to tell people this way, God is always preparing you for what he has prepared for you.
Amen.
But in order to get there, we have to persevere.
Amen.
We have to go through some things. It's super important. The divine architect, he uses trials and struggles. That's what he's decided to do, to help us develop perseverance. God knew that we would need to learn some things, and so he uses struggles and trials to help us learn perseverance. Our text is found in 2 Peter 1:5-6. And it says, for this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith excellence. To excellence, knowledge. To knowledge, self-control. To self-control, perseverance. And to perseverance, godliness. See, as you make your way through this process, through this sorite, and you learn to persevere, you're on your way to godliness. If you look at people who have persevered, who have gone through something and completed the cycle, they're drawn closer to God. His desire is for us to look more and more like his son.
Amen.
And so if his son had to go through something, what makes you any different? Perseverance. You've got to make up in your mind today, draw a line in the sand, and say, I'm going to start persevering. Now, that wasn't a suggestion. I don't want you to think about it. I want you to make that declaration right now. So just repeat after me. I am going to persevere. Now, you might think I just said that just to be saying something. I'm not a nailing and claiming, a blabbing and grabbing kind of guy. The Word of God backs me up.
Amen.
It says in Philippians, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. One theologian put it this way: as important as perseverance is, if we will make the effort to persevere, God will preserve.
Amen.
As you persevere, God will preserve. He will keep you and see you through. The Bible is full of examples. Took the children of Israel out of slavery. Told them, y'all just march and get to the Red Sea and I'll take care of the rest. If you can persevere and get there, God's got somebody to stretch out his hand and you can walk across on dry land. But you've got to persevere. This perseverance. That's why I like you guys. Y'all ask all the right questions.
Onward.
This is what perseverance is. It's the need to keep on keeping on in spite of adversity. It is patient endurance in holiness when we encounter temptation to give in or to give up. I know I'm not by myself. Y'all can leave me hanging if you want to, but there's been times I wanted to give in and I wanted to give up. But I thank God that he gave me the strength to persevere and endure.
Amen.
That's the type of God he is. He cares for you. And he wants to use your struggles, your trials in life to develop perseverance, because as you develop perseverance, you begin to look more God. That's what it says in our text. So perseverance is the need to keep on keeping on. There was an old lady in a church that the pastor of the church would come by and ask her all the time. He would say, "How you doing?" And she would say, "I'm just keeping on, keeping on."
Yeah.
And that's the way we ought to be. As we navigate this Christian journey, we ought to keep on keeping on. We live in a world today where challenges are present on every turn. The economy, jobs, children, that boss. There's a struggle, there's a challenge, there's a trial every day. But you've got to learn to persevere. And I hope as we go through this, maybe you can grasp onto something that will encourage you to push on and to keep on keeping on. Even in those times when you feel like giving up. There are a few scriptures there that support that show you what that definition is. But why do people persevere? Why would anybody want to continue through their struggles? Again, that's why I like y'all, because y'all ask all the right questions. Well, let me tell you why people persevere. The main reason people persevere is that they see something that is bigger than themselves or their current reality. In order for you to push through, you've got to have vision. You've got to be able to see something greater than your current reality. The saints of old used to put it like this: I'm so glad trouble don't last always. They could see beyond trouble. Why? Because of the God that they served.
Amen.
And they came to the conclusion that if God can bring you to it, he can also bring you through it. That's what perseverance is about. People persevere because they see something bigger than themselves. Now here's my question to you. Y'all ask all the right questions. I've got one for you tonight. Do you see anything bigger than yourself? Dr. William Timothy Glenn said it like this: if you can't see the invisible, you'll never do the impossible. There is, behind everything physical you see, there's a spiritual happening and taking place. We are made in the imago Dei, the Latin for the image of God. And so we are a trichotomy made of body, soul, and spirit. So there's something greater. There's a spiritual facet to it that we need to be able to get hold of and to see. It's like Dr. Glenn says, if you can't see the invisible, you'll never do the impossible. So that's why people persevere, because they see something bigger than your current reality. It may look dim and it may look dark at this present moment, but if you can see beyond the right now, you can persevere and endure and get through it. I just believe this evening that there are 15, 20, I don't know how many is here tonight, but I believe that there are some people that can endure here tonight. I know some of you, and I know that you've gone through some things. And the late Reverend James Cleveland says, I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. You can persevere. There is no perseverance without vision. What is your vision? What is it that you see? What is it that God has assigned you? You do realize that every believer has a divine assignment. God didn't call you out of darkness to don the suit, to put on the breastplate of righteousness, the helmet of salvation for you to sit on the sideline. Everybody is in the game. And so you've got to learn to persevere. You've got to have a vision. The question is, do you know what your assignment is? What is your vision? What is it that God has placed in you for you to do? Because I want to tell you that there is no accomplishing the assignment without alignment. You've got to align yourself with the will and the Word of God in order to persevere and complete your assignment. God gives people a vision, a divine assignment to do or accomplish something that will change the world they know. You don't have to be an Elon Musk and build a spaceship to take men to the International Space Station. But God has a divine assignment for you right in your little world. Maybe it's that obnoxious person on the job. Maybe it's that wayward child. God has a divine assignment for all of us. And that assignment will allow us to change the reality of the world that we live in. Miss Connie, I know you've got a rough assignment. Do you know your vision? Do you know your assignment? You see, the enemy comes not to get you to do things just to be doing them. But he comes to keep you from becoming what God has already declared you to be.
Amen.
He's not afraid of you sitting there. He's afraid of the you that God has declared already that you are. Because if you ever become what God has declared you to be, you'll change this world.
That's right.
Can I get a witness?
Amen.
Come here, David. Shepherd boy.
Right.
Matter of fact, when the prophet came to his home and asked his father, where are your sons? He brought him everybody but David. But David had a divine assignment. David was going to be anointed king of Israel. I don't know what your assignment is. That's between you and God. But let me just forewarn you that whatever your assignment is, it doesn't come without a struggle.
Amen.
Right.
Can I borrow David one more time? David was anointed by the prophet at a very young age. He went out and he slew a bear and a lion. And guess what? That was in preparation for a giant.
Right.
Some of the challenges you face, some of the struggles you face, if you can endure those, sometimes that's a setup to get you ready for a giant.
Amen. Amen.
And even after he defeated the giant, the promise that God had made him still didn't come to fruition. Why? Because there were some struggles David had to go through. There were some things that David needed to learn that he couldn't learn on the easy street. And so Saul began to get a little bit jealous of David and tried to kill him. And David found himself on the run for his very life. And all he'd ever done was try to serve and honor Saul. But he had a divine assignment. And David almost gave up. You'll look over in 1 Samuel where David made up his mind. He said, you know what? One of these days Saul is going to kill me. I'd better get out of Dodge while I have the chance. And let me tell you, when you feel like giving up, you'll do some crazy things.
That's right.
Yeah.
David did. When he made up his mind that he needed to get away from Saul, that he wasn't going to go through the struggle, David went and aligned himself with the Philistines. The very people that was Israel's enemy. And he almost went to war with them, against Israel. But somebody recognized him. And they thought that they were just recognizing David, but that was God's divine protection, keeping David from going too far. Can anybody testify that God has intervened in their life and kept them from going too far?
Yeah.
In the midst of our struggles, in the midst of our trials, in the midst of that preparation for perseverance to complete the divine assignment, God will keep us. Just like he kept David. So everybody here tonight, God has given you a vision, a divine assignment to do something, to accomplish something that will change the world right where you are. You don't have to discover a cure for COVID-19 to make an impact. Maybe it's just recognizing that coworker that needs prayer. Maybe it's just offering an encouraging word as you go through the grocery store and see someone with their head hung down. You never know who you might be saving
That's right.
when you fulfill your assignment. God has a purpose, and there's struggle in getting to that purpose. But if you persevere, there are 3 types of perseverance. What are they? Let's take a look at it. First of all, there's everyday endurance. I think pretty much everybody here can identify with that. What do we mean by persevering through everyday endurance? There's some things, life happens. There's some things that go on. And when we endure through everyday endurance, when we persevere, that is the response to the difficult stuff that impacts our daily lives. Delays, disappointments. Anybody had any disappointments lately?
Yeah.
Flat tires, rude people,
Oh, yeah.
impatient bosses, things that mess up our plans. You've got to persevere through those things. That's just everyday endurance. And listen, how you respond is an indication and part of how much your life is centered with Jesus Christ and His purpose. How you persevere and navigate through the daily challenges in life. Dr. Gardner C. Taylor, he's passed away now, but he said one time when he came to Houston, he said he pulled up behind a car and he was on his way to a speaking engagement and they had a bumper sticker. And the bumper sticker read, "Honk if you love Jesus." And so he knew in his heart that he loved Jesus, and so he honked his horn. And when he looked up, the guy who had the bumper sticker was giving him all kinds of expletive deletives and saluting him and just giving him a hard time. That's a challenge. How do you respond to that? How do you respond to that? When somebody cuts you off, Frank, how do you respond to that?
He tried to run home. He got on me all the time.
Witness to that?
That's perseverance. When you respond in a way that demonstrates how centered your life is with Christ and your understanding of His purpose. Daily endurance. Aspirations for greatness. On the surface, this looks kind of narcissistic. But walk with me here for just a moment. Most of us, when we were growing up, we had ideas and dreams of becoming great, of doing something great. We wanted to be a fireman or a policeman or an architect or a pro football player. And we just couldn't wait for career day or what was that day, show and tell, so that we could show and tell people what it is we wanted to become. But most of us right now are sitting on the boulevard of broken dreams. We never became that. But there is an aspiration for greatness, to do things for God. And there's nothing narcissistic about that. After all, did He do something great for you?
Amen.
He gave up heaven's best. And so what do we mean when we say aspirations for greatness, and how does that work into perseverance? Difficult endeavors that we voluntarily engage for a greater good. That's what it means. When we experience this type of perseverance, we give our lives to serve a noble cause and sacrifice time and finances because we believe we can make a difference in the world. I know there's quite a few people here who are involved in Kairos inside and outside. And if I were to ask, I bet they'd tell me, each one of them, as much of a delight as it is, there are some challenges. Can I get a witness, Chloe?
Amen.
Being an outside Kairos leader isn't easy. Have to deal with stubborn people, people that don't keep their commitment. It's a challenge. But as you aspire for greatness, you've got to navigate through those challenges. You've got to persevere.
Amen.
Everyday endurance. Aspirations for greatness. I don't know about you, but I don't want to give God anything less than my best.
Amen.
I just refuse to do it. He's been too good to me. Even when I was in my foolishness, he was good to me. So I just can't half do it. I'm not looking for my name to be on the marquee. I don't have to sit in the highest seat. But whatever I do for God, I've got to give it my all.
Amen.
And when you give it your all, you're going to face some challenges. But we are more than what? Conquerors. Got some Bible readers in this place. We are more than conquerors.
Amen.
And then moral courage. It's the other type of perseverance. Are you going to go with the status quo and move with the mob, or are you going to stand for what's right?
Amen.
There comes a point in all of our lives, there comes a crossroads that we get to when we need to have moral courage. Well, what do you mean? Sometimes difficulty is thrust upon us for no apparent reason. You ever had to deal with that? Joseph was betrayed by his brothers. Daniel was thrown into a den of lions. And Paul suffered unjust treatment in a Roman jail. But all of them had the moral courage to go through it, to persevere. Perseverance is our resolve to trust God despite our grief and circumstantial uncertainty. Sometimes these struggles that we face in life, we just don't know how they're going to end. We don't know how they're going to turn out. But the person who perseveres understands that I'm going to trust God no matter how the cut comes or goes. I wonder tonight, are there any persons in here that has a resolve to persevere? The testing of our faith produces perseverance.
Amen.
A faith that can't be tested can't be trusted. Mercedes-Benz makes a claim that they are one of the safest cars in the world. I don't know, I haven't read the reports, I haven't gone to the National Institutes of Safety and looked at it and tried to determine whether they're accurate or not. But I know Mercedes-Benz believes that they are. You know why I know they believe that they are? Because they'll take a brand new Mercedes-Benz, fresh off the assembly line. They'll put a dummy in it, and they'll wire him up so they can measure the impact, because they're going to crank that Mercedes-Benz up and they're going to run it into a brick wall and crash it and see how well the dummy fared. A faith that can't be tested can't be trusted.
Amen.
Perseverance requires a test. If you can pass the test, God has something great for you on the other side. Can I go back to David?
Yeah.
David endured his run from Saul. And he finally took the throne. And guess what the word says? There was never another king like David.
Amen.
Amen.
If you can persevere, Randy, if you can fulfill your assignment, if you can have everyday endurance, aspirations for greatness, and moral courage, maybe God will say there's never been another Randy. I wonder tonight if you're willing to persevere. Maybe you've given up in the past. Maybe you've thrown in the towel. Maybe you've had all kinds of excuses and said, God, I know what you want me to do, but I'm incapable. I don't feel like I'm qualified. They're going to say this, or they're going to say that, or they're going to look into my past and they're going to find out. But let me tell you something. Just like God told Jeremiah, say, I called you before you were even in your mother's womb.
Right.
And I had a job for you. He called each one of you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Are you going to persevere until the end? William McDowell, gospel singer, has got a song. The words of the song say, I want to live my life poured out. I don't want to get to heaven full. I want to leave it all right here. So I'm going to persevere. And I'm going to trudge through, navigate through the challenges of life. Because when I get there, I want to hear him say, servant, well done. You've been faithful over a few things. Come on up.